Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world. Talks about a team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. Well, we have to talk about something. And what we have to talk about is Pete Carroll. Because I keep hearing a lot of different things from a lot of different people that's just not realistic. Now, it's very easy for anyone other than people who actually have to pay Pete Carroll to say, fire Pete, he's got to go get somebody else, blah, 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 this and that. From everything that I've been hearing, okay, Pete Carroll is making like right around 15 million a year. And there's 2 more years guaranteed on his contract. So it's very easy for us to say, fire Pete, here's your 30 million, see ya. There's reports that the Raiders have been talking about doing a kind of a restructure, a buyout, retirement type thing for Pete, maybe dangling a job long term after his coaching career is over. Who knows? I doubt Pete Carroll is going to want to take anything less than the 15 million, if that's what the number is. But he's going to want to take anything less than what he's contracted for the next 2 seasons because he signed for it and he feels like he should get it. I think anyone would be in that position if they sign a contract and they don't have to leave. They'd say, you know what, just pay me my money. So yeah, it's very easy for people to say, fire Pete, move on from Pete. At this point, I don't know what the best thing to do is. It's very easy to say, you know, he sucks, he's this, he's that. Pete Carroll is still a very respected head coach in the NFL. He's in a lot of good things. I think the issue that we're seeing from everyone involved, I don't think we've seen the best of John Spytek. I don't think we've seen the best of what Tom Brady can bring to the table. I don't think we've seen the best of what Pete Carroll can do for this team because nobody was on the same page moving forward. I'm sure that John Spytek, it seems like, was kind of caught in the middle of what Tom Brady was looking to do and of what Pete Carroll was looking to do. And when you have a lot of different people pulling in a lot of different directions, this is the result that you get, and it doesn't look very good. So what's the solution? This is, from my perspective, what we do. Sit down Pete Carroll at the end of the season and say, Pete, what do you think is the right avenue to go? Now, as far as what the front office thinks, we know what the front office thinks. The front office told Pete Carroll at the beginning of the season, or before the season even started, they said that we want you to go really young, a lot of UDFAs, a lot of rookies, a lot of young players. We want to go young this season. And he convinced them otherwise. He said, know what? If you give me some guys, I know I can win with these guys. I'm optimistic, right? Well, they gave him his shot because I think Pete Carroll has earned that shot. Didn't work out. So in the back of the people in the front office's mind, it's okay, Pete, whoever the decision maker is, whether it's one person, 5 people, 50 people, doesn't matter. Whoever the decision makers are, sit in front of Pete, say, look, what do you think happened? What should we do in your mind going forward? There's 2 avenues. There's a lot of forks in the road when it comes to this discussion, okay? The first fork in the road is, what do you think we should do moving forward? If Pete Carroll's talking about, if we make a tweak here, a tweak there, I think we can win, gotta go. Gotta go. Because Pete Carroll even said himself in an earlier press conference, a rebuild is needed. Okay, fine. A rebuild is needed. We agree with you, Pete. A rebuild is needed. If he says that, what does a rebuild look like to you? To Pete Carroll, what does a rebuild look like? You give me your game plan for a rebuild for this team. What does it look like? And Pete Carroll has to lay it out. It's going to be a long conversation. Lay it out in general terms and in specific terms, player by player. Generally, what we want to do is we want to keep young players, young talent on their first contract. This is my words, okay? Young players, young talent on their first contract. Anyone that we spend any real money on should be top players at their position. They shouldn't be a lot, just a few here and there, but we really want to build the guys from underneath. We don't want to waste a lot of money on one-year guys who aren't going to be the future of this team. Older veterans, we don't want that. The Landon Roberts, who's fine, he's good. The Devin Whites, those guys, those type of guys, we want to move away from that. We want to upgrade at positions using the youngest talent we can and being very strategic in the free agency that we do. Okay, fine. That's all well and good. Now, the front office needs to take that information and then to say, okay, can we live with this? Is this okay with us? If not, and more than likely it's going to be not, they're not going to see 100% eye to eye. They're going to say, Pete, here are the changes that we think should happen. Here are the things we want to have happen. This may be personnel wise, it's maybe coaching staff wise, it may be both. We need this to happen. Are you on board with this? Are you on board with this rebuild? And again, like we said yesterday, there's two answers to that. Yes and not a yes. And those are the only two responses that the front office should be looking for. Yes, I'm on board to do what you say, or anything else. Maybe if we try this, maybe if we do that. No, Pete. We want to do it this way. We tried it your way. We want to do it this way now. They work it out. Let's say for shits and giggles, okay? They work it out. Pete Carroll sticks around. The rebuild is in full effect. Fine. We need to make sure that Pete Carroll follows through with what is basically he said he was going to do. And that has to happen right away. To do that, you have to have somebody that has a strong pimp hand, right? He has to have a strong hand and a strong say and a strong presence there. Make no mistake, personnel decisions need to go through John Spytek. That's why you hired him. That's why you put him in that position. He is closer to the owner than the coach is. That's why you see less change in general managers than you do in coaches, because general managers usually last longer. Okay, that's what needs to happen. A conversation needs to be had with Tom Brady. How much or how little information or say do you want to have? If you want to have say, you got to be here a lot more. You got to be in the office. You got to be a guy that's here on the day-to-day. If you don't want to have say, if you want to have some input, then you can keep doing what you're doing. But the final say has to go with the person you put in that position. I think that's an issue that a lot of people are looking to Tom Brady to save this organization, but he's not in the office. He can't do it remotely, okay? So the only thing you can do, or the next best thing, is you can put the person in position that Tom Brady says should be there. Now, I'm not saying Tom Brady is the end-all be-all. That's not what I'm saying. But he's a guy that carries a lot of clout in this organization because Mark Davis believes in what Tom Brady says. So if Tom Brady, if you're not going to be in the office 100%, we need your guy who's going to be in the office. A guy that maybe you have his ear, that you give suggestions to, that you give advice to, but the ultimate decision comes down to this guy. I'm not talking about a puppet. We don't need that, okay? John Spytek cannot do his job being someone else's puppet, because that's someone else being Tom Brady in this scenario is not in the office day to day. It needs to happen. It needs to get cleaned up. We need to have a singular voice of this is where the buck stops, right with this guy. And because of that, Pete Carroll answers to them, whoever that they is. In this scenario, let's just say it's John Spytek. He's your GM. You don't have a team president. You don't have any of that stuff. You have a John Spytek GM that has a direct line to Mark Davis. That's what we need. That's what we should have. All this goes correctly. All right, Pete Carroll, here's our game plan moving forward. We want you to do your best to coach these players up, because we want to know who the players are who we need to move forward with in this rebuild. So it doesn't matter the scheme. It doesn't matter what we're running. It doesn't matter. We need you to coach up these guys and get the best out of these young players and to see improvement. Here's the issue. The big thing that Pete Carroll was talking about in the last few press conferences was not winning games. It was getting better. You don't get better by not playing in the game. So the Charles Grants, who got 5 snaps, big whoop, 5 whole snaps, didn't play tackle. He was the extra tackle on a jumbo. We need to give him snaps by himself. If you don't trust him on the left side, put him on the right side. Well, put him out there to play. He played really well. in the snaps that I saw. Now, I tried to get normally where I get my all 22 film, the 22 film was all screwed up. I got to talk to the guy that gave it to me. It gave me the same 5 plays over and over. Now, one of them was a Charles Grant snap, but it keep giving me the same 5 plays over and over again. And only one snap of Charles Grant. I'm not going to give you guys one snap of analysis. It's ridiculous. So that's where we need to move towards going forward. And we'll see what Pete Carroll has to say. Now, he sat down with JT the Brick on his weekly interview. Again, JT the Brick, cut him some slack, man. He's not a reporter. He's not like an analyst. He's a radio host. He's a host of a show, and he's paid by the Raiders. He's not going to ask these hard-hitting questions, okay? He's going to lob up softballs and see what Pete Carroll says. But Pete Carroll's at the point right now where he needs to start making a lot more sense to the front office. Him talking about winning games and this and that, blah, 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 and doing, that stuff is not going to ring to the sensibility of the front office, okay? He just talk about what he's been saying, getting better, getting the young guys out there, improvement, stuff like that. We don't need to see improvement from Landon Roberts or Stone Forsythe, right? Or Devin White. We don't need to see improvement from those guys. Tyler Lockett. We don't need to see improvement from those guys. We need to see the improvements from the young guys, from the Caleb Rogers, from the Charles Grants, the Dante Thorntons, the Jack Beshes, right? The Darian Porters, the Charles Grants. Those are the guys we need to see improvement from, for sure. So has this stuck? Has this made sense to Pete Carroll? Because once you say that you need to do a rebuild, the rebuild starts that very second. It doesn't start next season. It starts now. The rebuild starts now. If you keep throwing the Landon Roberts out there and the Devin Whites and the Stone Forsythes and those dudes, you keep throwing those guys out there for what? What do you have to prove? What are you looking to learn from these guys who aren't going to be playing much longer for the Raiders? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So this is going to be, I think, maybe the final test from the front office to Pete Carroll. Are you willing to do what we're asking you to do? Because if you keep throwing those veterans out there, the majority of the time, you're not learning about this team. Do you want to get better with the veterans and get this team right now get better? Or are you looking at getting better with the young players for the future? That's a big question mark. Hopefully we get some answers from Pete Carroll, interviewed by JT the Brick. Here's the interview.
Let's welcome in head coach Pete Carroll. Coach, I want to begin. You were really forthcoming in Philadelphia after the game and yesterday at the presser. You weren't expecting 2 wins. Now, how is the team handling your message coming off the Philly loss?
Well, we'll find out as we perform. These guys have been really strict to it. They've been rock solid about every day working and coming in with an attitude and mentality, trying to help each other be better. All of the right things that we preach. So I would expect very much the same. However, it's as frustrating as it can get. This was if anybody built up their expectations, I did. And to be in a different situation that we're in. So it's been difficult. But as we talked about, since we were all playing football when we were kids, we always had a coach to tell us, "Hey, football is a tough game. You got to be tough to to hang in there and to be able to sustain." And that's kind of where it is right now. So we're going back to the basic lessons of the game.
Is the frustrating part, you're handling it all in-house during the week in prep, and sometimes it's not showing up on the field game day?
Well, yeah, we can only go by how we're practicing, and then we get to game day and we're not able to get the successes that we need. We need to control line of scrimmage on both sides of the football better than we are, and that's just part of it, And so we learn as we go, but we keep coming back because we feel good about the work and the prep and all that, and that's kind of being on the positive side of things as we tend to do. But we haven't been able to convert on third down. We haven't been able to get off the field on third down. And that's the story of how these games have gone.
Let's get into the run.
All right, let's stop here for a second. Because this is where there's a point of contention between Pete Carroll and myself, and I think a lot of people in Raider Nation, and a lot of the reporters that reports about this and all this stuff, okay? Because one of the things that we keep hearing is, we're practicing great. And you're putting guys out there that are practicing. The best practice players are going to play in the game. The issue is we're not concerned with the best practice players. We're concerned with the best players in the game. I understand rewarding the players that practice the best, but if that player is not getting the job done during the game, that's why you have backups, right? And this is why I'm finding it very difficult to wrap my head around the fact that it took Caleb Rogers so long to get in the game when he is clearly the best guard that we have that wasn't playing, even the ones that were. And you have a guy very similar in Charles Grant who got some snaps and looked good. He's always been a really good run blocker. He was always a beast of a run blocker, very violent. We look at the tape that I did when he was first drafted in his college film. He was always had good feet, good position. He played with strong hands. He played violently. He was a through the echo of the whistle type of guy. This dude was violent in the run game. I loved his positioning. I loved his footwork. I loved his balance. Pass blocking was always going to be very much more difficult because you're moving backwards as an offensive lineman where you want to move forward and you want to be that power guy. That's what offensive linemen love to do is run block. They love doing that because they dictate where they want to go. They get their hands on a guy and they just move him around. That's what they love. Pass blocking doesn't always come the easiest. But when you're putting a guy out there, especially against Houston, man, they're the best defense, one of the best in the league. And their defensive line is freaking killer. But you got to put guys out there, man. And this is the point of contention between Pete and myself is he's like, well, the guys who perform best in the practices are guys that are going to play. But if they're not playing well, you got to put the backups in there. And Pete has just been very reluctant to do so. So that's the point of contention that we have. Let's hear what else he has to say.
Running game, you've tried everything. If it's a jumbo package, 12 personnel, you're trying to get Ashton going. What can you tell the fans about trying to get something out of these last couple of games to get the running game where you want it to be?
Yeah, we have a couple of things that we'll do this week that are a little bit different. Again, we're trying to find some different combinations to find space and get him in the open because he's dangerous, as we know. And I think he's done everything he can do. I don't think that there's anything. Maybe in the passing game we have some critiques of him that we'd like to be a little more strict and precise about things, running routes and all that. But he's really come through in all ways for us to just keep battling. He's tough as hell. And so we just got to give him some air and let him go ahead and make his things happen.
Let's talk about the quarterback play. Kenny got a shot. After that performance, where does the depth chart stand as we try to get Geno back? And could Aiden O'Connell get a chance?
Geno's certainly ready to go from where I saw him this morning. He is cranked up and ready. He had a great weekend of rehab. We didn't travel him, so he wouldn't have to sit on the plane for all those hours and be in the cold and all that. He feels good, and so he'll show, and I'll be able to know more after practice tomorrow where we're going with that. Kenny went out there and battled and did what he could, and it's first game in a while that he's played. And he handled the situation. His mentality was good. We weren't as clean as we needed to be to take advantage on the early sequences that we had in the game to convert. And so it got hard. It got hard on him. But Aiden has been working well, and he's done a nice job in practice. And there was I would love for him to get some play time, but I would like to get it for the right reasons because we're winning the game.
Before we get to Houston, Devin White has a chance to break the record here with the Raiders for tackles, and they come in bunches for him. And when you see the linebackers pursuing on the football, we've talked about missed tackling at times, but what about Devin and where he stands with these last three games?
Yeah, what an active football player he has been. The guys in our systems have always got a lot of tackles, Bobby's been has been up there for years, and so here is Devin. It's not really that big a surprise that he would have the opportunity, but he's all over the field, and he's making all kinds of things happen, and is, but I'm still tough on him. We're all tough on him because we want to continue to just play things as hard and physical as you can because he's really a factor. He weighs 250 something. He's a big load when he makes his tackles, knocks guys back and all that. And he's quick enough to get all over the field. So you combine all that, that's where he's got his numbers. He's probably pretty close to leading the league in tackles, I would think.
Yes, right? He is. One more on that last game. Securing the edge is something you take pride in. It didn't happen in that game. Max got a little vocal on that. What is the concept now from the back of safeties, linebackers, and especially your edge rushers to do a better job at securing the edge?
Yeah, it really does start on the edge, and Sam Backer had a number of spots on it, and Snow could have made a couple plays turn. They don't have to make that the tackles. They need to control the flow of the ball so the other guys can make the tackles. Coming out of the secondary, we missed a couple opportunities as well. Backers cut underneath some blocks, to try to make a play in the backfield. Sometimes, JT, what happens is guys are trying to make the play instead of playing the defense, and they can affect the outcome of it. And that's a little bit when you get antsy and you want to try to make something. We don't want to make stuff up ever, and so we need to play the ball game more disciplined on the edge and make sure that ball is positioned for the guys who are available to make those tackles. We didn't do that well at all in this game.
Houston, 6 in a row, bestie in the league, 16 points a game, top 4 in passing and rushing defense. I know how much you respect good defense. What are they doing right when you look at the tape?
Flying. They play really fast. They have a good concept that goes all the way back to I see the roots of it in the San Francisco days when they were there. D'Amico was there, and the linebackers are really flying. Their safeties are really active. Their 2 edge guys are as good as you can get, and not just in the throwing game, rushing the passer, but making plays on the edge, coming off blocks and pursuing the football. So it's when you watch their film, it's the speed that they play with it is really outstanding.
So Donnell Hunter, Will Anderson, Maxx Crosby, 3 of the best edge rushers in all of football here. But you got to contain 2 of them there with as much help as you can get. They really pop on tape. Yeah,
they're like I said, it's not just plays at them where they make plays. They chase the football great, and they give you all kinds of issues on the pass rush. So the combination has turned into a bunch of turnovers. They're like plus 14 or something for the year, which is a fantastic number. But that's the kind of numbers that go along with having one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins. So one's a really good possession tight end, and the other one's a game-breaking wide receiver. What are some concerns there?
Yeah, well, they use him. He's all over the place. Yeah. He's basically an interior receiver, and he's the sure guy they go to, and you can tell that they've got a real feel for him. Nico is a game breaker, and he's got the ability to make the plays, steal the ball away from you. He gets guys deep. He's a possession guy as well when they need him to be. By far the most targeted receiver they have, and the most explosive. So they've got a couple other guys that are good in the ranks too. But really, if you don't slow Nico down, then they're going to have a pretty easy go at it.
Davis Mills did a nice job keeping them on track before C.J. Stroud came back. I wanted to ask you in your prep and looking at that quarterback and C.J. Stroud when he came out and what you saw. He's had a little bit of an injury pattern here just this year, but he looks back as good as ever. He's getting the ball out quickly and making good decisions.
When we evaluated those 4 quarterbacks coming up that year, the thing that stood out to me about him was his ability to throw the ball on the move and scramble opportunities. He had great vision, but better than that, he had great accuracy. And they put him on the edge a lot to utilize that. He does move out of the pocket. He's not a big runner, but he is a mover. And his ability to make big plays on tough, challenging throws, his vision is great. His accuracy is great. And that's going to be a dangerous part of their game. We got to see if we can keep him corralled.
Last one, you're going to have home games to end the year in front of the fans of the Legion. This is your last road game. So with the team, do you have anything even more inspiring to get them on the plane and go there? Because this is a team trying to peak for the playoffs, and this is one of the toughest matchups on paper you'll have all year.
Yeah, this is as tough a challenge as we have, going to their place and all of that. I've not played down there very many times, so I don't have a lot of background playing in Houston. But this is a chance for us to start this finish. And that's what I'm hoping we can get done and come back with 2 big games at home for the fans. Let them see us and go out on a good note and show them where we're headed toward for the future.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you, JT.
All right. Well, not anything groundbreaking. Again, JT the Brick isn't going to ask the hard-hitting questions. And we've seen a little bit about what this Houston Texans team can do. I just don't I don't see Pete changing anything that he's doing. I see him. This is the problem, and I've said it before, and it's very difficult for me to not try to get emotional about this. I'm trying to stay very factual about this. But the fact that you didn't get Charles Grant in the games sooner is going to hinder his ability to play multiple stretches of this game at tackle, not as a jumbo or a 6th offensive lineman. So we're in the position we're on right now. And if Geno Smith does play, and all accounts are he's going to start and he's going to play, I don't know that Pete Carroll is going to want to put Charles Grant in the game against these two edge rushers. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are freaking beasts, bro. So it's the decision. It's almost like one of those choose your own adventure books, right? You remember those from when we were kids? You know, if you want Billy to go upstairs and wake up his parents, go to page 30. If you want Billy to go out and see what the noise was outside, go to page 45, right? Well, there's only certain choices you have if you choose to go to page 30, and there's only certain choices that you have if you go to page 45, right? There's only certain choices that you have, and the choices that Pete Carroll and this coaching staff made earlier in the season to not get Charles Grant out there have limited his choices that he has now. And that's what we're going to have to live with. And by talking up Devin White and his massive tackle numbers, most of those tackles are down the field. He had 2 tackles for loss in this game against the Eagles, the last game, excuse me. And but normally his tackles are well down the field. And I don't really get what we're trying to do as a team here. If we're getting blanked 31-0, playing the players that Pete Carroll wants to play. And I don't think that he's going to change his mind any on who he's going to play and how long they're going to play, especially when you're kind of pigeonholed yourself into your options this late in the season. All right, guys, that's my time for today. Really appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's the next way to support the channel. It's absolutely free. On top of that, we have the Shield Society. Shield Society is cool, man. It's $5 a month. It's a membership. You get some perks, you get some freebies, and you get some members-only content. I will make you members-only content coming up. Don't worry. I will give it to you on top of what I already give you guys for free every single day. And again, that's all I ask for in return is you tell your friends, tell your haters, tell your mamas, tell everybody. Raiders versus the world is the greatest, and go into Raider Nation today. All right, guys, that's my time. Till next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.